We are gathered here to discuss the role of a small scale industry in Indian economy. We all know what is economy. Economy is a place where economic activities are performed. And we all know that economic activities has dual function, generating income and increasing production. Beggar sitting near the temple get 300 rupees per day. He is income employed, but beggars are production unemployed. Beggars are not factors of production. Therefore, beggars' income is not included in national income. In national income, income of the workers are included. Income of clerk is included. Salary and wage is included. Interest payment is included. Proprietor's income is included. Corporate profit is included. Dividend to the shareholder is included. Company saving is included. But not the income of beggars. Begging is not economic activities from national point of view. One should not beg to human being. Beg before Christ. Beg before Lord Ram. Beg before Allah. Beg before Guru Gobind Singh. Upper soul. Not begging before the human being. And therefore in human rights, poverty eradication is the responsibility of the government. Human has right to live, decent living. And therefore nowadays government of India, would-be government of India, claiming to give minimum income to the poor people. A small scale industry is related to tertiary sector? No, in the secondary sector. Economy is divided into three sectors. Number one, primary sector, that includes agriculture and allied activity. Number two, secondary sector, that includes manufacturing, industry and other industry, large scale industry, medium scale industry, small scale industry, cottage industry, tiny industry. All these are there in differential rate, size. We are talking about a small scale industry. Nowadays government has clubbed a small and medium into one. A small and medium enterprises. And tertiary sector is the third sector of the economy that includes banking sector, service sector, education sector, health sector, insurance sector, all other service sector, hoteling services, laundry services, pedicure, what we call it?
Spa services.
Spa, all services. And some of them are taxable. So tertiary sector includes transport services, airways, shipping, roadways, service of electricity. So tertiary sector has great scope while economy expands, while economy develops. Surplus labor is generated from agriculture sector and they there is exodus of labor to urban areas, industrial areas, manufacturing areas. This is called that the laborers are shifting from rural area agriculture sector to industrial area. India in 1947, when it became independent country, the first problem before the country was poverty, unemployment and food crisis. After bifurcation of our country, old India, old British India, divided into Pakistan and India. Land distribution, irrigation, water distribution, all there were in such a way that India witnessed famine right from 1801 to 1943. Series of famines, droughts found in agriculture sector. And after independence, we all know that we were independent country, but government had not enough food grains to feed population, 40 crore population, and food requirement by India at that time only 40%. 60% food grains were imported. And that story runs from 1947 to 1967, when agricultural sector received great shock, internal shock in the form of Green Revolution, use of new technology in agriculture that had converted into labor, from labor intensive technique to mechanical tractorization in agriculture, and 400% production increased. Food grain production increased 400%. Land remaining, cultivable land remaining constant. From 1967 to 2000, India became self-reliant country in the world. India is exporting food grains. India had to keep 20 million ton food grains as buffer stock. In 2002, India had 60 million ton buffer stock, 60 million surplus food grain. World Bank published data that India is to be called as food grain mountains, because you have to keep 20 million ton, but India had 60 million ton. So India focused on export of food grains, and at the same time India started Food for Work program. Food for Work program. Food for Work program. Cash payment is replaced by food grain payment, so that the rural people, their welfare, they will get enough food grains and at very low rate through public distribution system, and another their house were filled by food grains produced in India. That is a golden objective which India obtained. But in the field of industries, that is secondary sector, condition is deplorable, because there is a lack of permanent model, that is appropriate model for industrial development in our country. We have to reconcile two conflicting. We have a large number of labor supply and if we utilize all industries under capital intensive technique, there will be a problem of unemployment and it cannot be solved through the industries. So we have to go in a balanced way. Choice of technology becomes very important. In first 5-year plan in India, main objective was agricultural development. Food grains shortages was the main problem, and that is to be solved through green revolution from 67 to 2000. But at the time of on the eve of independence, there was problem of food grains. So the first 5-year plan had priority to the development of agriculture. But in the second 5-year plan, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru thought that industrialization is needed for rapid development of the country and that requires large scale industries. During British period for several years, 100 years, there was no steel industry except in 1908, Tisco was established by Tata and very small amount of steel was produced. Surprisingly, during the same period in England, there was industrial revolution and 16% production of steel increased. England became the workshop of the world. Merchants were considered to be the engine of development, and industrial revolution started there between 1750 to 1850. In India, after independence, when we adopted 5-year plan, first 5-year plan had a priority for agricultural development. But in second 5-year plan, 1956, the most important period in our contemporary years. 1956 is famous for industrial policy resolutions of 1956. Industrial policy resolutions 1956 declared 3 types of industry: large scale industry, medium scale industry and a small scale industry. And Pandit Nehru said that there is no conflict between large and small. So Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was convinced that a small scale industry will play the supplementary role with the large scale industry and medium scale industry. So Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru reserved 855 commodities which will be produced by a small scale industry, so that large scale industry cannot act like big fish eats small fishes. That will not happen, because 855 items are reserved for a small scale industry. Only a small scale entrepreneur will produce and sell in the market. There will be no conflict of sharing market between large scale industries and a small scale industry. So reservation, commodity reservation was found in 1956 for a small scale industry, and it was declared that large scale industry is needed for rapid industrialization of our country. But at the same time, there is no conflict with the small scale industry. A small scale industry will grow and play complementary role in the economy. And in 1951, agriculture was given priority, top priority, number 1 priority in first 5-year plan. But at the same time, in 1951, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru passed in the parliament Industrial Development and Regulation Act 1951. Industrial Development and Regulation Act of 1951. Industrial Development and Regulation Act 1951. This act is most important act in 1951 for secondary sector, because in 1951 top priority was given to agriculture sector, primary sector in first 5-year plan. But in 1951 Industrial Development and Regulation Act was passed. Under this act, it was decided that industrial development will be taken with the help of foreign capital. If our economy could not have capacity to install bigger industry, larger industry, then it was decided to invite foreign capital in Indian economy for industrial development. Another thing, for industrial development, it was decided that the small scale industry must be protected, because a small scale industry is important source of employment in rural areas. A small scale industry are based upon labor intensive technology. So large scale industry and a small scale industry both will play supplementary role in development of India. And gradually time passed, first 5-year plan could not get success as it was expected from agriculture sector. So Nehru thought that under Nehruvian economics model, this is Nehruvian economics model, that he shifted focus from agriculture sector to industrial sector in industry. Pandit Nehru said that in India, industry is temple, and therefore development of industries is the top priority in second 5-year plan. P.C. Mahalanobis was the main person behind the model. Mahalanobis model of industrial development was implemented, and capital intensive technology thought to be most important at that stage of economic development, because it will kick-start industrial development, kick-start industrial revolution. And so in 1956, second 5-year plan, top priority was given to industries. We are focusing our discussion on a small scale industry. What role a small scale industry play? First role of a small scale industry in Indian economic development is to provide employment opportunities, because a small scale industry implement labor intensive technology, and therefore more jobs creation is possible through a small scale industry. We have to choose between job creation and job destruction. Robots will come, robotics will come to India. Job creation or job destruction? What will happen? Immediate impact. Job destructions. So you must think about the human being, development with human face. Job creation versus job destruction is the issue in India. And that is related to industrial development also. A small scale industry has more employment opportunities and therefore it plays important role in Indian economy. Second role is quick production. Under a small scale industry, you establish a small scale industry, just after 6 months production will start. If you go for large scale industry, it will take 5 years to install that large scale industry. Chinese experts visited India in 1974 and they had come here to examine that how could India develop iron steel industry so successfully. Production of India's steel was greater than production of steel in China. China came and studied our largest industry and decided to reject large scale industry and established mini steel plants. And 6 month production target is achieved and gradually production of steel in China is greater than India 6 times. We export iron ore to China. China export us iron steel. Situation reversed because they adopted in 74 we were having the larger production of steel in comparison to China. China studied our plant and found that 48% only plant utilization rate was there. Most of the public sector enterprises, only 48% their plant capacity was utilized. China rejected this model and developed mini steel plant model, and in 5 years China became one of the great power so far as manufacturing of steel or steel is concerned. India became exporter of raw material to China and importer of iron steel from China. International price of steel was decided by China because China cost of production is lower than other countries. Because China is a socialist country and there is no trade union to increase wage rate. They provide wage to everyone who works. Work according to ability and payment according to your need. This is the Chinese model. Work according to your own ability and payment according to your need. And we all know the need of people, bread, butter is the first need, and then shelter. Everything is given by the state there. There is right to employment. Everyone is employed. You will surprise to note that in 1929-32, 160 lakh people were unemployed, retrenched from the job in USA. 60 lakh people were unemployed, retrenched from the job in Germany. 30 lakh laborers were retrenched in England, UK. And at that time, under Lenin, in USSR, there was a scarcity of labor. So much employment opportunities are there that the population of, working population of USSR were not supplying adequate labor resources at that time. There was a scarcity of labor force. And in capitalist countries, there was depression, unemployment. So in India, third role of the small scale industry is quick production due to small due to less number of years while establishment of the factory and production of the factory. This is the duration is known as gestation period. Under a small scale industry, gestation period is very, very low. In 6 months production will start. But in large scale industry, gestation period will be 5 years. And in 5 years, in such a fast development of technology, your model, your technology will be obsolete, outdated. You see, mobile industry. Every 6 months, your mobile become obsolete and new version comes. So technology means quick implementation. You can't wait 5 years taking technology constant. No, technology is developing day by day, improvement in technology. So gestation period in a small scale industry is very, very low, quick production. Therefore, it is suitable for our country. In India, what we have experienced? Jobless growth. India adopted mixed economy. Mixed economy means all features of capitalism and features of socialism, and features means merits. Merits of capitalism and merits of socialism added together make a mixed economy. But do you think the demerit will stop there? Gradually, demerits of capitalist economy creeping up in the Indian economy. Demerits of socialist economy creeping up in Indian economy. And so, our model could not be successful. Mixture. Pandit Nehru had Nehruvian economics. His mixture was 80% public sector and 20% private sector. This mixture experimented in India about 40 years, 50 years, more than 50 years. What was the economic growth rate? First 30 years economic growth rate was 3%. 3% growth rate is declared as Hindu growth rate, declared by Professor Raj Krishna. And next 60 years, economic growth increased 6.5%. So 6%, 6.5% may be called as modified Hindu growth rate. Chinese economic growth rate is 12% and full employment. In our economy, 6.5% growth rate and job growth rate is less than 1%. So Indian growth model brought the paradoxical condition that is jobless growth. We are proud to say that we are in India having jobless growth. And we are demanding minimum wage from the government, minimum income from the government. Doles. Government will give you money directly in your account. For that you will not work. It is not sustainable in the long run. Short run it may be there, but in the long run it is self-defeating thing. Beggars sitting in temple in a masjid and any other places, tourist places. Even in Rajgir, I have seen so many beggars are sitting. In Maihar, Masada place, many beggars are there. In Brahma temple, where अजमेर शरीफ से बगल में है पुष्कर, beggars are there, and we give them not to help them, we give them for our seed, which I know. People have internal urge to give something. That is not part of national income. National income is generated by the factors of production, by producing commodities and services in the economy. By that methodology, economy will grow and develop. So right to employment is in Chinese economy. One who is born in China will get job, will get education, will get shelter. And therefore Chinese cost of production of labor cost is very, very low in international market. Chinese products are entered in our Indian economy, in toy industry, in textile industry, ready-made garments. Chinese products are cheaper and better than any other products. Chinese products are use and throw, not for repair. But Japanese model is different. Japanese say that there is no need of repair. My product is 100% guaranteed to work 15 years. Six Sigma effect. Millions items are there and zero defect. Japanese model. So a small country like area is like Bihar, and all trains are bullet trains. Everywhere 50 story building are there. They have seen